skepticism from the committee about these 4 teams. So these are 4 very trendy, contenderish picks. The Niners with the same projected win total as the Lions. Everybody loves the Broncos this year. ESPN said they had the 6th best roster in football. The Chargers, year 2 with Harbaugh, and the Bengals, if only they have a defense, we know how good they can be. From the committee's standpoint, the Niners last year was ruined by injuries. They're already getting bitten a bit by the injury bug, at least the wide receiver position. The Bengals, same defensive problems they had the last couple of years. And I'm not sure why we expect the Chargers and Broncos to take these massive leaps that everyone is projecting. Similar years to last year, sure. Big leaps, I don't know. Next.
And that's what I really don't understand. Like, these teams weren't able to get better in free agency, in the draft, by virtue of someone like Bo Nix not in his rookie year anymore, going to be in year 2. I kind of talked about this a little bit when I did the whole clip, but I wanted to kind of single this out a little bit more deeply, because it's just I can't accept the idea that it's healthy skepticism. And I think, obviously, we know those little taglines, whatever, labels, whatever the heck they're considered. Sometimes they're meant to be funny. Sometimes they're meant to be accurate. It's kind of a whatever type of thing. But I do think that the phrasing healthy skepticism really reveals how it's being viewed. It's really doubt and not believing, rather than it should be optimism. It should be like optimism, maybe, and you could make the argument maybe too optimistic or something, but healthy skepticism is pretty much being like, I don't know about this. I'm not really buying it, especially because skepticism has become essentially more synonymous with doubt than anything else. Because once upon a time, being skeptical just meant like, oh, like you want to make sure that you have all the information. It's like, I'm skeptical, but like, let me get, and when I use the word skeptical, that's what I actually mean it as, right? It's just kind of, well, I want a little bit more information, or I really want to see everything. I'm not doubting this. I'm not denying this. I want to learn a little bit more. In this context, it's actually really like healthy skepticism is essentially healthy doubt. Like, I don't really believe, because first off, we know how he feels about the 49ers. He doesn't think they're going to be good. He thinks that they're not even going to win the division. Broncos, he just went absolutely nuts that they were even remotely considered to be a top 10 team, let alone, a legitimate contender. The Chargers, I mean, he's just been going on and on and on about Justin Herbert not being a good quarterback, and it's ridiculous that anyone even thinks of him as a good quarterback, let alone a great or elite or special quarterback. And the Bengals are the Bengals. They just kind of keep going in circles, round and round they go. And so to me, that reveals it right there. And when you look at the other teams ahead of them, it's like, like, I'd like to know why a team like the Bears, the Packers, and the Texans for that matter, but definitely the Bears, get to have the tagline of bright, present, and future. How does a team like the Broncos not have that? Like, that's what I'm failing to grasp. Same thing with the Packers and the Texans. Again, you can believe in those teams, but the real greater point that I'm trying to make right now is, if you think the Bears, the Packers, and the Texans have a bright present and future, in what world do the Denver Broncos not? In what world? And in what world did any of those 3 teams show that they should be ahead of a team like the Denver Broncos or the Chargers, for that matter? And this is why I always say, like, you can believe in those 3 teams. Like, I don't doubt those 3 teams either. Like, I have high hopes for the Bears and the Packers, especially the Texans. I'm still kind of like, I'm not as confident as I was in last year or the year before. So I'm kind of leaving the door open for the Texans, as I'm still trying to wrestle through that, honestly. But the confidence in terms of putting a team like the Broncos below them, that's where I give pushback as well. And same thing with Buccaneers. QB reliant for sure, but like, how about healthy skepticism there? Like another new offensive coordinator, you know, a few key pieces that are getting older by the minute, maybe even maybe even injury prone at this point, or coming back from some legitimate injuries combined with getting old. Like, like there could be some real question marks about that. I understand Baker has had this reemergence, and I support it and believe in it, but like there was a huge difference between 23 and 24, and people want to pretend that it was all just Baker Mayfield just getting significantly better just magically and had nothing to do with Liam Cohen. And now Liam Cohen is gone, and just thinking that there will be no repercussions for that at all. And yet there's concerns, for instance, that the Lions, which Nick has echoed, that the Lions lost their OC and DC, and that there are going to be concerns that there will be a step back, but no concerns about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that regard, at least offensively. And it's like, well, that doesn't 100% seem legit either. And so, yeah, I mean, it is fascinating because I guess, like, what do we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the Broncos at 14th. At 14th. The 14th best team. I just don't know if I'm seeing it that way. I really don't get it, because then if you look at it, the teams that they're technically ahead of, you're just like, well, yeah, I mean, you got the Saints, you got the Browns, you got the Titans, you got the Colts, you got the Panthers, the Jets, the Giants, right? You're like, okay, obviously, if you're not better than those teams, well, then you're not, then there's nothing to be said then. There's no actual conversation to be had here. But I mean, to me, this whole healthy skepticism feels a lot more like wishful hoping. I hope they're not as good as other people believe them to be, because then that is a direct threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Which we know. And yeah, it's the Broncos are in one of the most fascinating spots from my perspective, from an outside looking in and trying to figure out who the Broncos are and what they can be in the landscape of the NFL. Because of the way how I kind of just consume the NFL content, and from watching the games perspective to the media, like I'm constantly evaluating the larger conversation at hand, right? Like that's a foundational core of how I approach making videos, and I'm always trying to comment on that as well, obviously, right? It's not always just what I personally believe in. It's like, what is the conversations that are being had? Where do I feel this is kind of going? And the Broncos seemingly, they don't have a place right now. It is fascinating. It's not like a doubt outside of obviously Nick, but it's not like a lack of belief either. It's really kind of like, I haven't even really thought about where the Broncos could be in this greater picture of the NFL, and it's just like it's kind of too hard. I don't know, Bo Nick, Sean Payne, Dre Greenlaw. I don't know. We'll just kind of throw it to the. I know who the Bills are. I know who the Lions are. I know who the Eagles and the Chiefs. Like, I know those teams. I've been talking about those teams and been watching those teams now for a long time. I've seen them play in big games again. Like, I know who they are. And then even a team like the Commanders, who can kind of really force their way onto the scene because of the playoff success that they had and everyone being so enamored with Jaden Daniels, that it's just like, okay, like we can enter them into the party now, because like I saw them really blast on the scene and have big time moments. So it's just like, okay, they can get in. But like everyone else is kind of like, I don't know. And that's really where I feel like the Broncos. It's just like, it's just like a conversation that people don't really feel like having, and yet at the same time, it's not as what's the word that I want to use? Like, the takes about the Broncos don't write themselves, especially from an entertainment perspective. Bringing in Geno Smith and Pete Carroll and Ashton Genty and, Las Vegas being Las Vegas, and having, some ties to Tom Brady. It's just like, all right, more willing to like talk about and believe that the Raiders can be something, right? Harbaugh, such a big, quirky personality, also being carried by Justin Herbert, who is already on Subway commercials or whatever, and has his own accolades and accomplishments. Baker Mayfield, a very divisive quarterback in the NFL for sure. People either love him or hate him as well. Sean McVay, the Rams, LA, like it's all there. Green Bay Packers, and the NFL over these last couple of years have they're desperately trying to make the Chicago Bears be a pillar in the NFL, and they admitted that. I think it was Peter Schrager. I forget exactly who it was, but they talked about on the Herd, where they were just like, Chicago is such a massive city and a massive media market that, like, the NFL, if Chicago could be a legitimate top team in the NFL, it's just pure cash, man. Like, it's just pure money. And so like they get that effort, they get that energy. You will always find things to talk about. But it is interesting when you have an up and coming team like the Denver Broncos with an up and coming quarterback and obviously a clearly established great head coach. It's just like I don't know. You kind of, I feel like the Broncos kind of find themselves in no man's land, and for no concrete reason either. Like in 24, going into this last season, like I was very confident that the Commanders and Jane Daniels were going to get less attention than Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams for all the reasons that I've already announced. And that ended up very much being the case. And at least though it made logical sense. I don't think it was right necessarily, but at least like logically I could understand. But the Broncos just find themselves, like I said, in this no man's land. And it's not because of hate. It's not because of like this inherent doubt on the Broncos. It's not really because of any true thing. Or just like, well, yeah, Chicago, Caleb Williams, so popular, and it has to be between them and the Bears. Like that wasn't the case. Because really the Commanders were like that way because it was number 1, number 2 pick, and it was Jaden and Caleb that were really elevated as the true prizes of the NFL draft. So like they were going to be pitted against each other in a way that we did not see Bo Nix versus Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix versus Caleb. It was just, like I said, it's a different narrative, different story behind these teams and these quarterbacks. So I am interested, like, and I'm curious if any Denver fans have any insights on this, because when I was working through it with the Commanders originally, I was like, it is interesting that no one's really talking about the Commanders that much. And they were like, well, that's because, our team was really just, nobody wanted to touch it. Dan Snyder, like, it was so toxic, our name, all this type of stuff. It was just like, and we weren't a good team. So it was just like, we just got to throw them to the side. Right. And it's just, there was a lot of damage that needed to be undone. And I am just curious though, like how a team like the Broncos, think about the energy that the Texans had from 23 into 24. The energy that the Packers had with Jordan Love from 23 into 24. Like there was just so much hype and energy and belief. And and now we see it with the Commanders and Jaden Daniels, and we just don't see that with the Denver Broncos. And a part of me thinks, and this was my working opinion, which I've shared a couple times, is like it is because they are in the division with the Kansas City Chiefs, and you did now have essentially for nearly a decade, everyone just being Chiefs, Mahomes, Andy, Chiefs, Mahomes, Andy, Chiefs, Mahomes, Andy, Chiefs, Mahomes, Andy's, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and that you now start to flirt with the idea of another team within the division of being great or special. You start to anger a lot of people. I'm not strategic with my takes in terms of the audience that I'm speaking with. I speak from how I see things. right? Like, I will speak very highly about the Philadelphia Eagles and say I believe in them. Obviously, right? They won the Super Bowl, but I'll say that about the Commanders. And I know that if I say I think the Commanders are a great team, Jane Daniels is great, like the Eagles fans that I just made so happy in my previous video, they're going to be like, they're not going to be so happy, right? And that was my original view of why Nick was so anti-Philly and Washington and New York, because he was so all in on Dallas that it was like, you can't say anything positive about Philly because the army of Dallas fans that like you and say, oh, Nick's the best, like he started saying, I think the Eagles are a great team. It's like, not so much. And if you bash the Eagles, you win extra points with the Dallas fans as well. And it's like, I don't take any strategic approach in that regard. If I believe all 4 teams are amazing, which I kind of fell into that a little bit last year with the NFC North, where I was like, I believe in the Packers, I believe in the Vikings, I believe in the Lions. Like, these are 3 teams that I really feel confident in right now, and I believe in them. And it was just like, you know, I'm not going to hide my belief in the Vikings just because it could maybe upset the Lions fans or something. Like, it's how I feel. It's how I feel. And I do think that's part of the equation with a team like the Broncos, and even to a degree the Chargers, but I definitely feel as though the Broncos are most vulnerable to that type of effect. But I wonder if also there's just something else going on, if it is because it's Sean Payton, and so there's still like maybe a lack of love around Sean Payton, or just like a true doubt of Bo Nix. But I don't understand why someone at this point would doubt Bo Nix could be at least a really, really good quarterback. I understand if people still want to doubt or have skepticism about him being elite and a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That's all totally fair game. But to doubt that he won't be just like a darn good quarterback, like I don't see how we could draw that conclusion. So it's like, okay, well, if you build a good enough team, you have a great enough coach, and you have a quarterback who's darn good, then your team by definition has to be really good. Like they have to be a really good, consistent, competitive team year after year. And so it's then why it's not being discussed that way. You tell me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Denver Broncos and the healthy skepticism, the doubt surrounding them, and why they seemingly, to me right now, don't feel like they have a place in this conversation, and they're not getting the same level of momentum that we saw from the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love, CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. Could be because they didn't win a playoff game. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.